Hello and welcome to the first of 3 videos that I'm going to be doing to show you how I process podcast audio for streaming on Spotify and on YouTube. Now, all of the audio that comes my way varies wildly in quality. So some will require more processing and some will require less processing. But what I'm going to show you in these videos is something that I'm going to do to all dialogue that comes my way, to try and get the best out of it that I possibly can. Hopefully you'll find some of this useful, if not all of it. This first video I'm going to be focusing on corrective editing and how we can get the best out of the source audio that we have before we start doing any other kind of processing. So in saying that, let's just jump right in. So I've already done quite a bit of this one already. It didn't take too long. It is a relatively long process, but it's quite good. So I have a good idea of what the recording's like and what to kind of look out for. So we'll just go through it and we'll just take a listen to each section of it and see what we can improve at the edit stage of this. So let's take a listen.
World again. Loads of these writers all live near each other. So we were encouraging people to start little cohorts, like a London, West Country, Northwest, Northeast, Birmingham, all these different places. And suddenly all the writers are jumping into their areas and saying, hey, I'm up for a meet, I'm up for a coffee, let's collaborate. And it's just the most exciting thing in the world to be able to see all that.
Okay, so that all sounds fine. That all sounds good. Let's nip over here and have a listen.
Absolutely, and it's good. Just before you move on, and what you said there about professionals as well. So we made a point recently.
See, it's these kinds of little gaps that I don't want to close them so they sound unnatural, but I just would like it so it doesn't go over like 1 second of just empty air.
So we made a point recently to.
It's a bit too close.
Well, so we made a point recently to say to professional writers, there's a lot of people that would look at Scribe Lounge and say, I don't need it. I'm good on my own. I know what I'm doing.
Okay, that's another one. Let's just pull it in just a couple of seconds. And again, a lot of it is just kind of pulling things a bit closer together. We want to get rid of all ums.
They joined.
Unless it makes it sound unnatural, and then we're going to want to keep it in there. But I like to kind of remove them as much as possible. Some people that are getting interviewed are a lot more articulate, and they say and ah and a lot less.
Clive Frayne, who wrote an amazing...
wrote... So let's just delete that. Pull this over.
Clive Frayne, who wrote an amazing...
That's good. Right there.
And we have writers like...
That's a big one.
Have writers like Glenn... We have writers like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence and Philip...
And we don't need the second and, just the first and will do fine, James. Thank you.
Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence and Laker and Philip...
Doesn't sound quite right. Let's see if we can pull it right a bit closer. See how this sounds.
Writers like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence. Writers like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence.
Just doesn't sound quite right. Let's try larger.
Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence.
It's a bit too much.
It's like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence. Like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence.
A bit too close.
It's like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence.
Sometimes I find I'll get stuck trying my hardest to make it sound better, and then I'll spend 15 minutes and realize that I've just made it sound worse. And then I go and undo that 15 minutes.
Writers like Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence.
Because sometimes it's really important just to realize, just leave it the way it is.
Laker and Philip Lawrence.
Let's just leave it the way it is.
Laker and Philip Lawrence.
Maybe a little bit. I don't want to leave it that way. Let's not break it again.
Laker and Philip Lawrence. Glenn Laker and Philip Lawrence, and
That'll do. That sounds good.
just makes all the difference, definitely.
Yes, it does, James.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a needless little click. Goodbye. Let's have a listen to the next part.
Absolutely open to all forms. That's one thing that.
Oh. So this is a really good example of how we can easily fix these little things. They're just when you're recording audio over Zoom, these things can get lost up in space and it just breaks apart the audio, but it's a good quality recording, so it's all there, it's just kind of stretched out a little bit. So if we just take a listen, trying to identify where it's stretching, and then we can chop that out, and you'd be surprised at how good it can sound.
One thing that
so it's that. Okay, let's break it here and then just pull it right the way in. This is going to look a bit daft, but stick with it. One thing that no, it's not quite right. What I like to do here is I break it and I pull it too close, and then I slowly pull it back and listen to it each time. That way I can find out exactly where it is.
Thing that
Okay, maybe if I do like this. It's going to be too much here.
One thing that
that works.
One thing that
There we go. One thing that what, James? One thing that what, James?
I've been really surprised at.
You've been really surprised at. Okay, cool. One thing that I've been really surprised.
Thing that I've been really.
Okay, let's see.
That's one thing that I've been really.
Pull it back a little bit. Too much.
That's one thing that I've been really.
See, he gets excited there after the pause, so it doesn't sound too natural. But
into all forms. That's one thing that I've been really surprised at.
That works.
One thing that I've been really surprised at.
See, he starts with the S, surprised at, but then he stops and then starts again. So why don't we just cut it there and then replace that first S with the second S. Blend it together. See how that sounds.
That I've been really surprised at.
Perfect.
Been really surprised at.
Magic. So from this,
I've been really surprised at.
Really surprised at, to this.
Been really surprised at.
Flawless. Perfect. Let's keep going.
Surprised at. Obviously, it says on the tin, UK screenwriters, but I
Oof. Bit tongue-tied there, James. Let's have a listen.
UK screenwriters, but I so often I would get.
So he does a little, which happens plenty of times, especially when you've been recorded.
Screenwriters, but I so often I would.
But so let's go from but
so often.
But so often. There we are. We don't need all this. Magic, James. Magic. I'm really curious of what he gets asked so often now.
But so often
Here we go.
Screenwriters. But so often I would get messages from people saying, you know, I'm a
saying, you know.
Saying, you know, on people saying, you know.
So it's saying,
saying.
So that's another one that it was corrupted.
Saying, you know.
So let's, as I said before, I just break it right near the start. And I'll pull it over here. See how that sounds.
Saying, you know, from people saying, you know, from people saying.
Okay, obviously you can hear the pop. So if we pop in a little fade there, have a listen now.
From people saying, you know.
Perfect.
Messages from people saying, you know, I'm a.
Saying, you know. Will it sound natural if I take out the, you know? Just put it right here.
Get messages from people saying, I'm a poet, I'm a play.
It's too much. Too much. Let's pull it back a bit further. And I don't really want the you know.
It's just from people saying, I'm a poet, I'm a. It's just from people saying, I'm a poet, I'm a play.
I feel like that saying is maybe just a bit too short. Let's.
Saying.
It's better.
Saying, I'm a poet, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright. Can I come in? And
ah, there's another one. So listen.
Saying, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright. Can I come in? And
can I come in? So he doesn't need to say that.
Can I?
The and the ca. So let's get rid of those ones. Pull us a bit closer.
Right. Can I come? Saying, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright. Can I come in? And
so that sounds natural. That sounds good. But then there's another break.
Come in and come in, come in and
come in. Let's go a bit slower. Come in. Let's break that there. Pull this over.
Can I come in? And can I come in? And
okay, aside from the pop, it sounds quite natural. Let's pop the fade in here.
Can I come in? And I'm a playwright. Can I come in? And our answer is all
magic. Flawless. No.
And our answer is all. And our answer is always. Our answer is all.
Okay, so let's break this part here.
Can I come in? And our answer is all.
Perfect. So you can see that I'm quite pernickety with the little bits and bobs, but I just go through it and just take out the stuff. And I mean, once you get used to taking out the bits that you don't like and making it sound natural, because that's the most important thing, is making it sound natural. So if or and or sounds natural and taking it out makes it sound unnatural, just leave it in, you know. But I just like to go through this quite thoroughly, and then I'll listen to it again to make sure that the changes that I've made aren't too jarring and they're actually adding something to the mix by ironically taking it away. So let's keep going.
It's all about boosting people's creativity.
Boosting
people's.
Okay, and again, when these are broken like this, you pull them just over. We want to keep with the S right here. Little fade. Listen.
It's all about boosting people's creativity. It's all about boosting people's.
Oh, that's not quite right, is it?
It's all about boosting people's creativity.
That's better.
All about boosting people's all about boosting people's creativity and all about boosting people's creativity and just it's a hive of people, I think. And just it's a hive of.
Okay, so this is one pause, which is a bit harder to decide if I want to try and reduce it, because he starts saying one thing but then stops mid-sentence and then goes on to something else. So if I pull it closer, it's gonna sound very unnatural, because it's gonna sound like he starts saying one thing but then jumps to saying something different, and it's gonna sound very edited. So right now, as it stands, it sounds like he's just had a change in his train of thought. So let's try again.
Creativity and just it's a hive of people. Creativity and just it's a hive of people.
So this one I would keep in here, because he starts off by saying one thing but then decides he wants to reword it, and you can tell that in his breath and the way his mouth move. You can hear his mouth move. So I would leave this particular gap in, because it keeps the integrity of the recording. So let's keep going.
Ow, there's so many crossover.
Oh,
So many, so many,
so
so many, so many, so many, so many, so many, so many.
I think it's here. Let's try. A lot of this is just trial and error. You could be totally way off the mark of where you think it's going to be.
Ow, there's so many
That's it.
Ow, there's so many Ow, there's so many crossover.
Perfect. Easy.
So. Closest. When it comes to playwrights and screenwriting, there's so much crossover, but writing, there's so much.
See, that's a gap I would keep in as well, because you can hear the breath. He's stopped what he's away to say, and then he's away to say something else, and in between it feels natural and human to hear a little breath there. So it's good to leave in occasionally, because if you take all of these gaps and have it all super close to each other, some of it might sound really good, but it would just get very fatiguing for the listener. So they want to hear a stop in what they're saying once in a while, just a small once in a while, so you can hear the voice and the breath, and remind you that you're listening to a human and not just a computer.
Playwright.
So I would take out this part, see how it sounds.
A lot of them,
because there's also, I can hear him touching the microphone too. So let's see what happens if I break that there, and I'm just going to pull this over to about here. Put a fade in and listen.
Writing, there's so much crossover, but yeah, a lot of guys have come from journalism. There's so much crossover, but yeah, a lot of guys have come from.
That sounds quite natural.
But yeah, a lot of guys have come from journalism, and they're crossing over into different mediums. There's different
mediums. That's an easy one to fix. Break there, pull it over, cheeky fade. Start again.
And they're crossing over into different mediums. There's them, and they're crossing over into different mediums.
So that's too much, Danny.
To different medium.
Too much.
To different medium.
It's better.
To different medium. To different mediums.
Magic. Sounds great.
Does all sorts of
amazing work. Easily fixed. Break. Pop the fade here. See how that sounds.
All sorts of amazing work.
Not too close. Oh. Don't change the gain, Danny.
That does all sorts of amazing work.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's keep going.
There's hundreds of them. 100 mediums.
Oh, fudge. Try that again.
All sorts of amazing work. There's hundreds that does all sorts of amazing work. There's hundreds.
So he goes, there's hundreds. So let's just break, pull, pop that there.
There's hundreds.
Just take out that second there's. Just have the two there's. There's.
Amazing work. There's hundreds of them. Hundreds of them. Hundreds of examples of people, working across all mediums, definitely.
Okay, so this bit's here.
Examples of people, working across all.
So here is, let's take out the and yeah. Pull this a bit closer. Oh, sugar. Let's listen to that again.
Working.
Okay, so it's the k. It's working across. So let's break there. Pull this here. But fade in.
Working across the.
Magic. Sounds great. Sounds perfect. Pull it over.
Hundreds of examples of people working across all mediums.
I think this will sound better if I pull it right close to each other. Pop in a wee fade there.
Hundreds of examples of people working across all mediums.
Nah, it doesn't. It's the speed in which he speaks.
Of people working across all mediums.
It makes it sound quite edited. Let's try it.
Hundreds of examples of people working across all mediums, definitely.
Sounds natural. Sounds good. Right. What are this? What's he saying here? It's got a beat going. Oh, it's too short to make it a loop. Boo. I quite like that sound. Oh, you're welcome. Quite like that sound.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It was one of those where it was the culmination of years of relationship.
Oh, my telephone's ringing. It's the missus, so I better answer it, and I'll be right back. Right, I'm back.
Hmm. It was one of those where it was the culmination of years of relationship building.
Okay, a couple of things we need to fix here. So there's a gap here which we need to close off.
It was one of those where
Sounds like he's chewing on something. One of those where what, James? One of those where what? Let's go.
it was one of those where it was the culmination.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It was the culmination of those where it was the culmination of years of.
Okay, so he does 3 ofs. Of, and of. So how will it sound if I just have one of?
One of those where it was the culmination of years.
Nah, it doesn't sound good. And that, I know that no matter how much I move around or play around with the fade, that's never going to sound natural or sound good. But it will sound fine if I put it where the second of is.
It was the culmination of years of relation. Years of.
Okay, years.
Years of. Years.
Okay, so let's just break here.
Years of.
Okay,
Years of.
already better.
Years of.
Nope, worse.
Of years of relate.
Oh, bad. I think it could probably go a bit closer, to be honest.
Of years of relate. Of years of. Years of relate.
Okay, this is something that I'm gonna get really pernickety about this, so I'm just gonna move on because I know what I'm like, and I mean he's literally saying one word, years. So why am I gonna spend more than 1 minute on it? You know.
Quietly, I made.
See, I don't know if he just stopped speaking here quietly,
Quietly, I made.
but either way, we'll fix it.
There quietly, I made sure.
Perfect.
You know, be an equal in that room and give what I could.
Oh, heard one.
Made sure that I tried to sort of, you know, be an equal in that room and
Room.
and equal in that room and give what I could. Tried to sort of, you know, be an equal in that room and give what I could.
Magic. So this is the editing stage. It takes a bit of time. It takes a little bit, you know, a good few hours to go through, and then I have to go through again through the interviewer too to make sure that I make them sound just as good as I make the interviewee. And then I go on to the next stage, which is using dynamics to correct all of the levels and the moving from the mic to forward and backwards and getting everything sounding balanced. So yeah, until next time, thank you.